Hi, we're not going to address what's happening behind me, okay? Just ignore that. But my name is Angel, and welcome to my new Booktube channel. I know my name says Angel Can't Read, but I assure you I can read. But I figured for my first video I would do the Booktube Newbie tag. It's just a good way to get a little introduction for you guys to get to know me, and maybe we can become friends, maybe we'll have something in common. So let's go ahead and get into it. Okay, so question number 1 is, why did you start this channel? Well, I think it's kind of obvious. I love books and I love reading. I've always loved reading, and so I figured it'd be nice to have a community where I can talk about these things with other people who are also into the same things, because I'm sure my boyfriend is tired of hearing me talk extensively about the books I love, and he has no clue what I'm talking about. But he's very supportive, and he sits there and listens anyway. But why not talk to other people who actually know what the heck I'm talking about? I also used to make YouTube videos like way back in the day, and then just kind of forgot about it and just stopped doing it, but I really loved creating videos and editing them and brainstorming all these ideas, so I'm really excited to get back to doing that, and why not do it and talk about something that I really enjoy? Question number 2 is, what are some fun and unique things you can bring to BookTube? Well, in my experience, I'm probably just looking in the wrong places, but I feel like a lot of book creators, content creators, focus on like fantasy and romance, which I don't read any fantasy, and I read a little bit of romance, but I am a horror girly to the end. And I know there's a few big creators out there that talk about horror and thrillers, but there's such a limited amount from what I've found. So I want to find more people that are into that. I know you're out there, and if you want to talk about horrors with me, this is the place to do it. Question number 3 is, what are you most excited for about this new channel? And I think a lot of that is similar to my answer for question 1, where I'm just excited to create a community where I can make friends with people who like the same stuff that I do, and just have a place, an outlet where I can talk about these books that I love, and I know that the people watching it are also going to enjoy these books, so that's a plus. And then, like I said, I just love creating videos. It's all very fun and very exciting to me, so I'm ready. So question number 4 is, why do you love reading? I feel like everyone kind of has a similar answer to this question, where it's like you just want to be involved in a new world, in a new story with all these new characters, and just see what's going on inside their brains and in their world, and it's just, I mean, it's entertaining, really. At the end of the day, that's why anybody reads, is for entertainment. But I also like it too because with movies, it's like, yeah, you can pause a movie and come back to it later, but how often does that really happen, you know? How often do you pause a movie and then come back to it 2 days later and watch the rest of it? Usually it's like one sitting you watch it. But with a book, if you're reading it and you're like not feeling it at that moment, you can put it down, pick it up a couple days later, and just get right back into it immediately. So that's really cool. Also, I read a lot of horror, like I already said, and I think that's so interesting to read too, because I just love to find all the gross and dark and disturbing things that people can just conjure up in their brains. Like, sometimes I read a book and I'm like, what is wrong with this author? But like in a good way? I don't know. That doesn't make any sense. Question number 5 is, what book or series got you into reading? So I've always been into reading since elementary school. I can recall reading a whole bunch back then, and other kids my grade would look at me and be like, there's no way you read all that. And I'm just like, I did though. I did. But I think the big series that really kind of hooked me into the book world, I guess, would be the Hunger Games. I mean, we all know it. I was in middle school when it came out, and I remember I borrowed the first book from a friend, and after I finished that, I just like was begging my mom. I was like, I need you to buy the entire series for me because I need to know what the heck happens in the story. And I was obsessed, and then I remember every time one of the new movies came out, I would reread the whole series before I went and saw the movie. So you could say I was a little bit of a fangirl, but that was definitely the one that I can specifically remember being just absolutely obsessed with. Question number 6 is, what questions would you ask your favorite booktubers? And I think this is a really interesting question. It's kind of hard to come up with an answer for it. I would probably just want to know, like, How did you start? Did you ever think you would be where you are now? Question number 7 is, what challenges do you think starting a booktube channel will be the hardest to overcome? I think the biggest thing is like staying consistent, because like that's a big thing in growth. You have to stay consistent, post consistently. And right now filming's a little weird for me because I do live with people, so I can only film like at certain times or certain days just to make sure there's not a whole bunch of background noise and people around. So I think that'll be my biggest challenge, but I'm confident I can make it work. Question number 8 is, when did you start reading? So like I said, I remember reading as far back as elementary school and always loving it. And then in high school, I remember I used to read a lot between classes because I didn't have friends, but don't tell anybody that. So I would just read books all day, every day in high school when I wasn't doing work, between classes, before school started, stuff like that. And then I kind of fell off, like became an adult and like had responsibilities, which is like super lame. But then I think it was like 2020-ish that I got back into it like full speed and have just been going since then. So I would say it's going well. Okay, question number 9 says, where do you read? And I don't know if they want like a specific location in your house or just like in general. Basically, I read everywhere. I read at work on my break. I read at home when there's a movie playing. I have the Libby app and I just got Kindle Unlimited so I can read on my phone because, I have my phone pretty much anywhere I go. So that makes it a lot easier to read a whole lot more, because if I'm in a car and it's like a 15-minute ride, I could just read for 15 minutes, It's great. So the answer to number 9, where do you read? Everywhere. Okay, and question number 10, last but not least, is, what kind of books do you like to read? So I know I already mentioned I like to read horror and thriller. They make up the majority of what I read. I think so far this year, almost 50% of all the books I've read have been horror, so that gives you a pretty good idea. But I also like to read some sci-fi, some nonfiction, tiny bit of romance here and there. I'm actually trying to find a romance that I really, really love, so I think I'm going to make a reading vlog of that. If you guys want to stick around and watch that, especially if you like romance, then you can tell me what I'm doing right or wrong when it comes to those books. I read really a lot of different genres. I think the one genre that I don't really read is fantasy. I don't know. It just never really appealed to me, even like fantasy shows or fantasy movies. I'm not a fan. I don't know why. But it's weird because I like to read sci-fi, which I love the Dune series, and that's got a lot of world building and a lot of characters and different concepts that they don't fully explain all the time. But I love those books. But then I think of fantasy as the same way, and then I'm I don't want to read that. So maybe one day I'll read a fantasy book. I don't know if I'll enjoy it, but I'll try. Well, that's pretty much it for the tag questions. So I hope this was a good introduction. I hope you guys got to know me a little bit. Maybe we've got something in common. Maybe we could be book besties. Let me know. On this channel, I plan to do reading vlogs, TBR challenges, book reviews, recommendations, monthly wrap-ups, that type of thing. So if any of that sounds appealing to you, and especially if you love horror, then I hope you stick around. And thank you so much for watching.